You have now reached a place known as La Brèche, the breach, a name that recalls the former walls of Colias, which have since disappeared or been absorbed into the surrounding houses. We know that these fortifications underwent major reconstruction and renovation towards the end of the 14th century. This period corresponded to a widespread effort to strengthen the defenses of the Kingdom of France during the Hundred Years' War. According to local tradition, King Louis XIII ordered an opening to be made through the village wall at this very spot. The breach supposedly allowed his carriage to pass through and reach the castle, where he is said to have spent the night on the 2nd of July, 1629. As is often the case, however, collective memory has compressed and dramatized historical events, making them more spectacular and easier to transmit from one generation to the next. This is an example of what the psychologist Frederick Bartlett called reconstructive memory. Details are simplified, different events are combined, and a symbolic place of memory is created to enhance the value of local heritage. Similar stories can be found elsewhere. In Vence, in the Alpes-Maritimes, Bishop Moreau had a breach opened in the town walls in 1787 so that his carriage could enter more easily. Toponyms referring to a breach are also very common. At Les Angles, opposite Avignon, for example, there is a place called the Porte de la Brèche, or Gate of the Breach. Names such as Tour de la Brèche are so widespread that they provide us with an important clue. Like the village of Venesque in the Vaucluse, and like most fortified settlements, the walls of Colias were punctuated by defensive towers. A structural analysis of the former line of the fortifications shows that the wall changed direction here, forming an angle that was almost certainly protected by what is known as a corner tower. We can therefore be reasonably certain that a defensive tower once stood at this location. But could Louis XIII really have ordered a breach to be made here? The military context makes this unlikely. Between 1621 and 1629, the region was deeply affected by the conflicts between the French monarchy and the Protestant strongholds. These wars only ended with the Peace of Alès in 1629. It is difficult to imagine the king weakening the defenses of a village in which he intended to spend the night. The local tradition was probably influenced by another, well-documented event, the surrender of the Protestants of Uzès. Louis XIII refused to enter the town through its existing gates. Instead, he made a solemn entrance through a breach opened in the walls at a place known as the Portalet. At Colias, the breach was probably created after the king's visit, once the region had been pacified. It may have been opened for purely practical reasons, as happened in other fortified towns. In Vence, for instance, the inhabitants had already brought legal proceedings during the 1760s to obtain the opening of a passage through the eastern fortifications, allowing carts to circulate more easily. The study of roads and pathways shown on early maps also reveals routes that were abandoned with the arrival of modern transport. From the east, the principal road into Colias crossed the small bridge of the Passadur, where a bridge had existed since at least the 16th century. That road arrived precisely here. This explains why the inhabitants would have wanted a direct opening through the wall, providing immediate access to the interior of the village. The investigation could even be taken further. The continuation of this route may reveal the position of an old street that has now completely disappeared. Today, the name La Brèche has gradually shifted away from the former fortifications. It has become the name of the village's only bar, an establishment that has now become part of the local heritage in its own right.
Les cuivres sonnent pour la farandole, notre patrimoine c'est notre joie. À Colias on chante, on danse, amis du Gardon, quelle ambiance. Le cœur de Colias bat très fort, le cœur de Colias bat très fort.